So a few days ago, I posted a blog post on my website, punitivetruth.com, entitled Fixing America, in which I suggested 35 things that could and should be done to completely change what we know of as the United States of America from being a complete train wreck dumpster fire to being a very, very awesome, righteous place. Of course, there's only like 5 people that go to my website, so I thought I'd do a website or a YouTube video where I go through and read what I wrote and also give some commentary along the way, and maybe some extra clarification as to what I'm talking about with each of these things. So on that post I wrote, truth is not democratic. The laws of cause and effect are not democratic. Happiness, prosperity, and freedom are only had by taking calculated actions in obedience to divine law and in recognition of unchanging eternal principles. So these are my suggestions for what could and should be done to fix the United States, to restore freedom, prosperity, and morality. These are things that need to be done to save this nation. None of these ideas are secret, complicated, or extreme. They simply represent classic conservative values, original intent, and the wisdom taught by our original founding fathers. Number 1, prosecute government officials, elected and appointed, who violate the Constitution and human rights, who undermine the rule of law, who incentivize criminality, and who promote ideologies adverse to fundamental rights. So one of the biggest problems we have in the United States are government officials who actively, publicly violate the Constitution, who undermine the rule of law, and who actually incentivize criminality. These are people who are, in essence, at war with or upon the people of the United States, are at war against the Constitution. They're trying to destroy this country. And these government officials, elected and appointed, ought to be prosecuted and removed. That's a huge, huge problem we have today. Of course, with a corrupt justice system, that will never be allowed to take place. Number 2, impose an annual written test for voter eligibility based on what the Constitution actually says and original intent. And so this deal we have today where everybody has this somehow has this right to vote does not work at all, and I'd like to see an ideological argument that's actually sound, which actually explains how everybody has a right to vote, and explain to me how the democratic process is actually going to reliably promote government that actually preserves and protects fundamental rights, when most people are going to simply vote emotionally, and they're going to make their decisions not based on consistent fundamental eternal principles, but based on what they feel and what they want to get from their government. This is not an objective or principled or wise way to run our government. If you have an electorate that is largely ignorant, foolish, corrupt, and wicked, then you're going to get a government that is likewise ignorant, foolish, corrupt, and wicked. And so you're going to get what you deserve, really. And that's really what we have with the democracy is people are going to get a government probably no better than what they deserve, because that it's simply going to be a reflection of the composite general thought of the electorate. It used to be many years ago in most states that in order to vote you had to be a male landowner. And I'm not saying that that's the best way to do it, but the reason for that was that male landowners were typically men who were educated, they understood business, they understood fundamentals of the American political system, and they were going to be hopefully governed in their votes by the principles upon which this nation was based, upon sound economic principles and hopefully moral principles as well. And so my suggestion is that those who want to have that privilege of voting, of determining what the laws are and of determining who holds public office, should be those who actually know what the Constitution says and who actually understand things like separation of power and the enumerations of the responsibilities that the various branches of government have. Enumerated powers. Most people don't understand that at all, and they don't understand that the Constitution actually specifically lists or enumerates the various powers that the various branches of government have, and then specifically says anything that's not on this list they don't have the right or the power to do. And of course that's completely fouled up, and now we have this supposed living document where it can be interpreted however anyone wants to interpret it, which doesn't work. And so I've also got a friend who is his solution. Well, I have a few different people I know who talk a lot about secession, like that would be some kind of a solution. The problem is, if you have states who secede, I don't know how that's going to fix anything if the people seceding are just as ignorant and foolish as the people they're seceding from. And so there's nothing that can effectively replace for the better an ignorant and a corrupt electorate, except for an electorate that is not ignorant, that's not corrupt. And so one way we could fix that would be to say, hey, if you want to vote, you have to pass, you have to take and pass a written test every 4 years or whatever, and which simply would test you on your knowledge of what the Constitution, Bill of Rights actually says. That would do a lot right there. You would be surprised how utterly ignorant, well, maybe you wouldn't be surprised, but it's interesting to note how utterly ignorant most people are. I mean, I'm talking 99% of the people out there, and also how ignorant most politicians are of the Constitution. Have no idea what it says, and they don't care. And they think it's the government's job to fix everything, to make everything equal, to make everybody equal, and to just somehow magically give us this awesome economy and all this awesome stuff, make everybody rich. And that's not what government is for at all. The proper role of government is to protect the fundamental rights of the people. It's that simple. The proper role of government is to protect and uphold the fundamental rights of the people, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which in Jefferson's day clearly meant to include your right to own property and to control your own property and have privacy. And so we have these fundamental rights, the rights to life, liberty, property, privacy, and so forth, which it is the government's job to protect those rights. And today they're doing a very, very horrible job at doing so. The things on my list of things to fix things are not really in any order, and so I just kind of listed these things off in my head over a period of a few weeks, and let's put them down here. So On that note, number 3 is enable and promote cheap nuclear energy. At this stage of the game, with the technology we have, we can produce massive amounts of very, very cheap electrical energy through nuclear power, through nuclear reactors. With all the automation, with robotics, and with all the technology we have, we can do it very, very safely, very effectively, and drastically reduce the costs of so many things. And that would be a huge boost for the economy. Do we deserve that? No. I'm just saying that this would be a very, very beneficial thing in many ways. And along the same lines, number 4, enable cheap oil. License existing and new refineries, oil wells, oil rigs, etc. We have the resources in America to extract massive amounts of oil, but the powers that be don't want that. They want to make us poor again. They want to destroy the middle class, and so they're shutting all these oil resources and machinations down. They're shutting it all down, trying to enslave us again. Number 4 is be hard on crime. Prosecute criminals. Impose justice deterrence. So we have places like New York City, California, where the new legal policy for those who are in charge of enforcing the law and prosecuting criminals is to let the criminals go scot-free. And in such places, we see crime just shooting through the roof. It's just off the charts. The crime that is occurring because the criminals know that they're not going to be prosecuted. They're not going to go to jail. They might be arrested, but then they're going to get let go, and nothing's going to happen. And so the government officials who are doing this, who are being soft on crime, who are letting the criminals go, these people are promoting criminality. These people are at war against the United States because they are defending and upholding and enabling the people who are trying to kill you, steal from you, and destroy your security and your happiness. That's just absolutely insane. But that's what communists do. Communists have been using various forms of terrorism for many years, and one of the classic forms of terrorism is to promote criminality and to protect the criminals and to not prosecute them. Number 6 is deport illegals, especially those who commit egregious crimes. Of course, make exceptions for women, children, and families. You have the vast majority of the illegals coming over are military-age single men. And that's not just to affect the vote. There's something very bad going on with that. And then, of course, we have a lot of just crazy amounts of crime that are taking place from these people. And then they're also creating a huge burden on the economy by cashing in on all the socialist programs that we offer them. And so there's a long list of reasons why we should be closing the borders and deporting illegal aliens, especially these military-age single men who are up to no good. Of course, there's always exceptions. So along that note, lock down the borders, cease to incentivize illegal immigration through socialist programs. Number 8 is define treason more comprehensively. Prosecute treason, especially among government officials who betray the public trust. So I guess that's kind of redundant from my first point. We have just thousands of examples of treason occurring each day from government officials. And we need to redefine what that treason is and how it should be handled, how it should be prosecuted. And I'm going to go into some more detail on that a little bit later on here. Number 9 is nullify presidential executive orders that are unconstitutional. Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution says that the Congress alone has the power to enact laws. The President does not have the constitutional authority to pass new laws via presidential orders. That is flatly unconstitutional. And so the President is supposed to issue executive orders in order to simply to do what the Congress has established. And so we have laws, we have a system that needs to be administrated, and so the President's job is to administrate the law and to administrate his office, not to pass new laws by executive order. And then number 11 is introduce constitutional money, abolish the Federal Reserve. So that's a huge can of worms right there. This fiat money system that is just a bunch of numbers in a computer is not how the financial system is supposed to work. We should have a gold and silver backed financial system, a dollar that's based on actual physical gold and silver. And people who have degrees in economics say that's not possible. Yes, it is. It is absolutely possible. As the economy grows, that would simply make the dollar stronger, not weaker. And the problem is not that we don't have enough gold and silver to go around. We have plenty. And if that's not sufficient, there are other commodities that could be based on as well. Number 12, eliminate socialist programs, especially for non-citizens and illegal immigrants. So the problem we have with all these socialist programs is that in order to provide all these benefits, especially monetary benefits, you have to take those resources, take that money from somebody else. In other words, you have to steal. That's why they call it legalized plunder. And anyone who at least pretends to believe in Jesus Christ or believe in the Bible or the Ten Commandments should be upholding the idea that thou shalt not steal. So all these quote-unquote Christians who are also socialists are anti-Christ because they are promoting a program which goes against that basic commandment to not steal. They also oppose the commandment not to kill, because here's the deal: if you object to being robbed by your own government and you try to defend your property, what's going to happen? They're going to shoot you. They're going to kill you. And so in order to enact this system of socialism, this legalized plunder, requires both stealing and murder. You have to kill people to do that. And so people who are in favor of socialist programs are thieves and murderers, because that's what they're promoting. Make no mistake about it. They're thieves and murderers. Defederalize public education. I don't have necessarily have a problem with public schools. I've got no problem with the community getting together and say, hey, let's raise a fund and let's have a public school to educate the kids. But this deal where we have all these schools that are controlled by the federal government, and these national institutions who very, very openly, brazenly teach the fundamentals of socialism, communism, and very, very anti-American doctrines, that's not good. That's not cool. And what's crazy is these schools are paid for by the people. They're paid for by the people, so they should be controlled by the people, not by the federal government. I mean, people have written very many books on this. What I've said is just a teeny bit of what could be said and should be said about that topic. But you will see in the Communist Manifesto written by Karl Marx that one of the essentials needed to establish communism is for the government to take control of public education. That way they can indoctrinate the kids. And that's exactly what's been going on for generations now. You had the separation of church and state that began back in the 50s, took God out of schools, the Ten Commandments, prayer, all that. And now we have a bunch of godless, snowflake, millennial, woke completely screwed in the head kids that are more and more running the country. And they're going to bring the whole house down on top of us. That's going to be the result. Next is outlaw prostitution and pornography. These things that destroy the moral fabric of the country are going to bring the wrath of God down on us. And so those things should be illegal. So outlaw prostitution and pornography, outlaw homosexuality and gender reassignment, outlaw extramarital sexuality, eliminate no-fault divorce. One of the biggest problems we have in the families is people have no commitment. Most marriages end in divorce, and there's a lot more that could be said about that. But one of Satan's greatest schemes is to destabilize and to destroy families, and that's what he's doing. And one of the ways he does that is through no-fault divorce laws. Number 18 is outlaw abortion except for extreme medical reasons. 19 is teach Bible studies and biblical ethics in schools. So again, you don't need to pass a law saying thou shalt teach the Bible in school. No, simply allow it to be done and encourage it. The people should encourage their teachers and their leaders to teach the Bible and to teach biblical ethics in schools and in public places. Teach the Ten Commandments in school. Allow prayers in school. We need to let God back into the public places. If we don't, in the absence of God, we have Satan. And right now, Satan and the evils and the powers of hell prevail throughout all of our public places because they kicked God out. And that's just not a good place to be. Abolish all unconstitutional federal agencies. There are over 1,000 federal agencies, and almost all of them are unconstitutional. It's a huge, massive bureaucracy. It's very, very expensive. It's unconstitutional, and it is destroying America. Statists, people who believe in the almighty power of the state, they think that in the absence of God, we need to have a government that controls everything. And that's actually not true. The only way to have peace and justice and prosperity and happiness among the people is to teach faith in Jesus Christ and repentance and the laws of God, to encourage people to come unto Christ and do what's right of their own free will. Force will never work. Force will never work. It'll just make things worse. And the harder you push people towards God, the more they're going to resist and choose Satan instead. That's just the way it works. So, abolish all unconstitutional federal agencies. Next is abolish property tax at all levels of government. You shouldn't have to pay rent to the government to own a house or to retain your own property. That's absolutely wrong. That violates your fundamental right to ownership of property. So abolish property tax at all levels of government. Abolish income tax at all levels of government. By having income tax, now all of a sudden, now all your personal financial records and business records are government documents, and you run into the kind of problem that Trump's had. We're supposed to have privacy in our own papers and effects and our own businesses, but by having income tax and property tax, that all goes out the window. So the solution to financing needed government programs and services is not income tax, and it's not property tax, because that destroys freedom, that destroys our right to property, and also destroys our right to privacy in our persons and papers and effects. So number 25 is pay for public infrastructure and government services with voluntary good citizen taxes. So everybody recognizes that we need to have roads, we need to have essential government services. There needs to be infrastructure. And so I would suggest that as we have sound constitutional money and as we do these things, that people would become very wealthy very quickly, and people would be more than happy to pay a voluntary good citizens tax of their own free will and choice based on the riches they are accumulating. They'd have no problem doing that. They would love to do it. They'd be able to pat themselves on the back for being awesome. And so I would also suggest that under this system, that would be a requirement to vote. So not only would you have to pass a regular written test to be able to vote, but you'd also be one of those people who voluntarily would pay that voluntary good citizens tax to support the public good, to support the government if it's a righteous government. If you don't like the government, you don't pay the tax. Of course, that could kind of backfire because now if you don't pay the tax, now you can't vote. So maybe that's not the greatest idea. Anyway, so maybe that wouldn't be the solution, to stop paying. But the point is you want to have people who vote, who actually have enough brains to make money, to prosper, and who also understand economic principles and understand the Constitution. Next is abolish non-military federal ownership or management of public lands. Public lands should be state or county regulated. So this deal where we have all this BLM land, federal land, and all these states basically owned and controlled by the federal government, that's a theft upon the people. That's a theft upon the people. God's given us this land to cultivate and to take care of it and to benefit from it. And so that's actually also highly unconstitutional for the federal government to own and control all those public lands. The federal government is allowed to own land for the purpose of maintaining national defense. That's it. Limit private and corporate ownership of land to 100 acres within the U.S. Application can be made for exceptions. So this deal where you have most people who own less than a quarter of an acre, then you got some people that own thousands and thousands of acres. To me, that's way in excess of what's needed. And this deal where you have people like Bill Gates, who have bought up thousands or millions of acres, and you got all these super wealthy people to buy up all the land so that ordinary people can't even get it. That's not right. We need to protect the birthrights of our children and allow the land that's out there to be owned and to be cultivated, and so that our children can have an inheritance. And so I just came up with 100 acres as a limit, and then the caveat that application can be made for exceptions, because there's always going to be exceptions, especially for corporations, and then of course like ranches need to have land to run their cattle on. That's not the only real exception I could think of in terms of why you need to own thousands of acres. The people who run lots of cattle definitely do need a lot. But then again, why do we need to have these corporations have a monopoly on the vast majority of the cattle market? I'm not sure that that's really necessary. So that would definitely be a matter to debate. Here's a big one. Foreign individuals or entities should not legally be permitted to own more than 2 acres of land in each state. All foreign individuals and entities must make special application for ownership and development of land in the United States, as well as submit to regular, non-scheduled national security inspections. So right now we have China buying up massive amounts of real estate all over the planet. Right now that's happening big way in California. All these Californians that are selling their homes for millions of dollars and going everywhere else, they're most of those sales are going to these Chinese CCP entities. And so now we have a huge problem with foreign countries affecting us economically, and then we also have huge national security risks with that as well. That to me is absolutely treasonous that we allow these foreign entities, foreign countries to buy up our own land and to potentially use that land to destroy our economy and to destroy our ability to defend ourselves and to protect our own interests, especially our interests in preserving our fundamental rights. And so I just kind of picked that number out of the air. 2 acres is a limit. Okay, you got some millionaire from Greece that wants to have a little villa in California, fine, whatever. But 2 acres is plenty of land if he wants to have a flat somewhere. But that, of course, would be up to debate, along with everything else I've got here. But the principle I'm trying to promote here is there definitely needs to be limits on the ownership of land, especially among foreign nationals and foreign governments. Number 30 is institutions and organizations that publicly work to promote ideologies calculated to destroy the Constitution or promote any sort of socialism, fascism, communism, or globalism should not be permitted to exist. I mean, if you know one of your kids is in his bedroom building a bomb to blow up your house, why would you permit that? Why would you permit that? It doesn't make any sense. And so we have these organizations, public organizations, like the Communist Party. It's public. It's recognized. It's an entity. It's a thing. You can go to the meeting. Communism, and that is absolutely an organization. That's an ideology that is making war upon the people. Why would you permit that to even be a thing? That makes no sense. And then also, any religion promoting any sort of Satanism or any form of overt evil should be illegal. To me, it just absolutely blows my mind that we have these flagrantly public Satanist organizations that are allowed to exist that are overtly evil. Evil meaning they're there to do horrible things to people. Publicly, they talk about doing horrible things to people. They follow Satan, and what does Satan promote? He promotes evil, sadness, destruction, and every bad thing. And why a righteous people or good people or just people would allow that to exist among them is absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. And that's one of the reasons why we are where we're at today, is we've allowed these organizations to grow up inside of us. For years now, for many years, we've had these openly flagrant Luciferian organizations operating among us. There's many examples of that. Deregulate the medical establishment. Any regulation should be imposed at the state and local level. The medical tyranny we've seen going on the last 30 years has been staggering. Many very good doctors promoting new technologies have been shut down because they oppose the medical establishment controls and the people running the medical establishment, and they're not allowed to function. They're not allowed to exist, and so the medical establishment needs to be deregulated, and any regulation should be very local at the state or at the state level, would be my argument for that. And we need to make sure that medical doctors have and nurses and practitioners have the freedom to operate and to take care of people according to the will of the people and their own best judgment, not some institution. Give the risk to the people. If there's a quack doctor out there doing crazy things, that was your choice to go to that quack doctor. Don't make it the government's job to protect you against all risk. That's not the way life works. The cost far outweighs the benefit you would have without those excessive regulations. Not to mention all the crazy amounts of corruption that goes on within the medical establishment that we all know are there. Number 33, regular non-mandatory military service should be encouraged with special benefits and privileges, including military militia ranking, deputy police status, special weapons ownership, and police privileges. And so I'm not a fan of like what they have over in Israel or Sweden or some countries where you absolutely are required to join the military for 6 months or 2 years or whatever it is, because that flies in the face of freedom. You know, you're turned into a slave to do your required military service, but instead make it a badge of honor and give individuals who participate in regular non-mandatory military service incentives for doing so. Now you've given men who participate in that honor and privilege. So if you are one who participates in this regular military service, they have a rank within that military or the local militia group, which is run by the state or the local county militia. Give them a deputy police status, allow them to have military weapons, and give that dignity back to the men of the community so that they can protect their fundamental rights with arms. And that is absolutely their right, especially those who make the sacrifice to do military service. Number 34, religious leaders should be encouraged and even incentivized to teach and preach U.S. history, constitutional political theory, and original intent. It should be a culturally accepted duty for faith leaders to scrutinize the government and promote the principles of liberty, prosperity, and righteousness. And so that should be the one of the main checks and balances we have with the government are the religious institutions and the religious leaders, the faith leaders. That should be expected of them. That should be required of them. That is a duty to not just go out there and teach Sunday school Christianity, but also to keep a close eye on what's going on in government and to raise the warning voice where corruption or evil or threats are seen that threaten the people and that threaten our fundamental our rights and our liberties. Then finally, number 35, most importantly, the people of the United States as a culture and society need to return to the God of the Bible, repent, and become a moral and righteous people according to the best Judeo-Christian traditions. Without the people voluntarily choosing to repent, to have faith in God, to do good and to be good, none of this matters. And the reality is that without a righteous people, those who are humble, who have faith in God, who are righteous and good, without that kind of righteousness, all the prosperity you would gain by doing all these extra things that I'm talking about would very, very soon lead to gross amounts of wickedness and destruction. And so that really is the most important thing that we as a people can do and should do, is to repent individually and nationally as a people. The only way we could possibly save this country and this nation is through mass repentance and turning to God, turning to the God of the Bible. Whether you're Jewish, whether you're Christian or whatever, turn to the God of goodness and mercy and justice and truth. Now, we all know that none of this is going to happen. We all know that this country has gone beyond the point of no return. We all know that the writing's on the wall. We're going to be destroyed. we're going to be destroyed. There's no doubt about it. It's simply a matter of time. But these are principles that I have talked about that should be recognized and accepted for the truth that's in them, so that in the future, when new government is established, a government for the people, by the people, in the best interests of goodness and truth, that we understand these eternal principles and we can enact good government when the future Zion arises. There's going to be a future Zion, but it needs to be it's going to be based on righteousness and on faith in Jesus Christ. And there are going to be leaders. There absolutely will be leaders, people to govern, but we should only allow righteous men to be our teachers and our rulers. And if you don't even know what righteousness is, if you're not trying to be righteous yourself, and if you can't even recognize a righteous person when you see one, then you're not going to have any part in that Zion which is to be, and it's very, very unlikely that you're going to be able to survive the coming tribulations that are about to be poured out upon this entire country and this entire world. So if you want, you can read through what I just shared. It's on my website, punitivetruth.com. The link is in the description. Have a great day.